Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the Dark Elves led by Professor Pone and Malekith, facing off against Bretonnia, who's going to be helmed by Jay Phoenix and the Fey Enchantress. You're on the battle for it's a very small map, close quarters, going to be fighting pretty quick. Now for the Dark Elf army here on the front, it's going to be Bleak Swords, which of course will trade better against infantry, but will be a little bit more vulnerable against cavalry compared to their Dread Spear cousins. And, honestly, there was a time when I would have been like, oh, these things will probably mulch through most of the Bretonnian front line. But in the most recent patch, Bretonnian front lines with Grail Reliques are actually really menacing. I mean, these Battle Pilgrims have almost 50 melee attack. The Grail Relique is pretty jacked. So basically, they nerfed the amount of leadership this thing gave, but they also added on a melee attack buff. So it's basically just better now, and it has Peasant's Duty. I think it has the same trait, so it would need Cavalry to buff itself. But yeah, Grail Reliques are just like mini Corpse Guards now. It's pretty crazy. Bretonnian front lines, they are no joke. So it is going to be Bleak Swords, backed up by some Dark Shards. Dark Shards, in theory, if they can sit and shoot at cavalry units or any target really, they pack a big punch, but just a little bit vulnerable. Blackheart Corsairs in the back. I think Blackheart Corsairs are a nice choice against Bretonnian front lines. Although Foot Squires are pretty common these days, and Foot Squires will smash them really badly. So I don't know. It's there was a time I'm still in that mindset of when like Foot Squires weren't commonly used, but now they're a pretty common inclusion in the front lines here. So we'll have to see how they do. But normally they're good at clearing out lightly armored peasants and battle pilgrims and things like that. Dread Spears, and Malekith, of course, is the hard carry in the army. He's got the breath attacks, he's got the AoE, he's got healing. He is for sure a raid boss. Malekith is often carrying these Dark Elf games. And for the Great Jay Phoenix over here, it's going to be the Bretonnian Horde. So we got unwashed masses of Battle Pilgrims, Fey Enchantress, with the classic double Paladin, one of which I would imagine is going to be Henri Le Massif. Yep, of course, you want that extra armor piercing, certainly not bad. Grail Relique, couple Peasant Archers, and we do have a Blessed Trebuchet, going to be dropping some bows. And I think the Blessed Trebuchet is a really nice pick by Jay because it gives you some counterplay against the boxes of halberds, right? So you can sometimes see the old Blackguard boxes. It's kind of an old school land battle tactic, but even still, it still checks out every now and then. And man, look at the damage so far. These Dark Shards getting smashed by that Trebuchet back there. My goodness, that is pretty substantial. Is Malekith going to do something about it? Looks like he was thinking about going back there, but we do see a summon of the Knights of the Realm. So Knights of the Realm are on the way out. Nasty, powerful unit, 85 charge bonus, 37 melee attack. Of course, Lance Formation does lower their melee defense, but you can turn it off after they make their charge, or it's usually not a huge deal. They get the job done. So Malekith coming in with the Chill Wind, does some okay damage. Chill Wind doesn't kill a lot of models, but does a fair amount of HP damage. And now we have the Dark Shards, who do have Silver Shields, so they will be absorbing this damage relatively effectively. Looks like they're going to be trying to trade in with the bows and move into range here. Frontline fight underway. We do get the Peasants versus the Bleak Swords. Bleak Swords, for their cost, probably won't do badly here, but overall, they probably won't trade upwards into Battle Pilgrims too hard. And man, oh man, that Blessed Trebuchet is doing some serious work, and it seems as if the Dark Elf lines are certainly taking the worst of the punishment. Having the Dark Shard units back here getting pounded, these Dark Shards are already routing, but we do see more reinforcements coming in as these Dark Shards now turning about face, putting some hurt onto the archers. But what they really want to be shooting are these Knights of the Realm. Pone going to be trying to screen, so he gets his Dread Spears and is trying to cut off the old Knights of the Realm here. And Knights of the Realm still get a partial side charge, but honestly won't be too devastating. But if they continue through and find their way onto some of the Dark Shards, it could be good. But yeah, unfortunately for them, they move into a bunch of spears. So the spears might be able to get some decent bump and drain going. Now Malekith up on the high ground here on the hill is able to get some decent magic in. Another Chill Wind. Looks like that might have been a bit of a miscast. Should have came down the line a little bit right there. Currently the objectives, nobody has any objectives. Side objective not taken, middle objective hasn't been taken yet. And Chalice of Potions, a really nice one by Jay. That was beautiful. Hits the Bleak Swords, hits the Dread Spears. Absolutely nasty stuff as Professor Pone responds with some Harpies. So the Crows of Cain coming in, and I don't hate that actually. Crows of Cain are infantry sized, so Knights of the Realm won't kill them very quickly. They have regeneration. It should be a pretty good tool at just honestly mulching through some of these peasant archers back here. But it looks like Bretonnia has broken through on this side. We do see routing Dark Shards. The Chalice of Potions was extremely devastating. The Fey Enchantress most likely going to be able to provide her more Ascension if need be to help win against the Blackheart Corsairs. Malekith and company are kind of anchoring it down here, and Malekith, like I said, is a raid boss. One nice attack there does take down 5 Knights of the Realm. Another attack from the Dragon takes down another 2, and of course the Soul Stealer is just waiting in the back pocket. And honestly, Cold One Knights are really, really good cavalry units. They trade pretty damn well into the Knights of the Realm. Knights of the Realm lack armor piercing. Cold One Knights do have heavy armor, anti-large, and armor piercing themselves, so they're a pretty well-designed tool to deal with these units. Now, of course, this took place in a tournament, which I believe was a couple weeks ago, in which Grail Knights and Grail Guardians are restricted to just one. So Jay can only bring one of them because they're just extremely broken with how they currently work. So had to be done. But big Erect Soul Stealer, classic Malekith play. Going to be nailing a lot of value. It hits the 2 characters, the Grail Relique, Battle Pilgrims, Knights of the Realm, and is also going to be healing Malekith for, I believe it's either 12 or 15% of his overall HP, which when he's on that big dragon is actually quite a bit. Nobody owns the high ground as far as the side objective goes. Nobody owns this one. This is a Kark special. Nobody playing the objectives, just going for blood this game, which, you know, Kane wants the blood. The lady is probably a little bit bloodthirsty at times too, so, you know how it is. Looks like the Crows of Kane ended up going to the backfield, but were shut down by a very elite summon. So we do see Jay Phoenix calling out the Companions of Quenelles. And the Companions certainly pack a punch. Of course, they are an anti-infantry unit, but still have 50 melee attacks. So that's going to be more than enough to connect with pretty much anything. And the Crows of Kane do get routed off there, as the middle objective is taken by Bretonnia. Side objective currently not owned by anyone. It looks like some of the Dark Elf units, Dark Shards, have come back in, and those Blackheart Corsairs did a pretty good job of holding it down, actually, despite fighting the Faint Enchantress and some good quality units. The Dark Shards have been able to come back online, and the Cold One Knights are now providing a bit of a resurgence here. Seems like Bretonnia is, they had a lead. They had a pretty damn solid lead, but with the healing on Malekith, and some of the trading that we've seen here in the past minute, it feels like the value in this game is actually very, very close. And a lot of it's probably going to come down to how well the Companions are used. They're a super expensive unit. You know, they cost, I believe, around 1,500 gold. If the Companions can come in, trade upwards into some of these cavalry, get some big damage, some big value, I think Bretonnia could run away with this game, but the inverse goes for the Dark Elves, getting good engagements with their Cold One Knights and dragging down the Companions, which I think Malekith is definitely going to be needed here. You see the Trebuchet shooting into Dark Shards. Should be shooting into some of the healthier ones if he can find some of them. And the Cold One Knights do get a little bit of spear support. And honestly, the Companions don't have the best fight. Is the Faint Enchantress nearby for any heals? Currently, she is rocking Earthblood and Flesh to Stone, so probably an Earthblood would be pretty nice there. And Malekith, once again, man, these Soul Stealers, and that always happens with Dark Elves. They'll be a little bit behind on value, and then these fat, erect Soul Stealers just punish these positions as the Witch King gets a huge drain on all the characters. That one hits Henri Le Massif. It hits the Paladin here, and honestly, they're probably going to be very, very low after that, yeah. Paladin about 500 HP. Malekith with a huge hit right there. Henri Le Massif looking a little bit low as well. One Paladin goes down, and Henri Le Massif probably going to be going down as well, as Malekith turns his sight onto the noble Paladin of Bretonnia. And Bretonnia is going to be coming in with some Knights of the Realm to try and salvage the Paladin situation. Chalice of Potions attempt going down from Jay Phoenix there. A little bit of a miss as those spears were moving up. And here we do see the Companions starting to falter. I mean, getting chased down by Cold One Knights, taking casualties while they try and retreat, and also being tar pitted by these Dread Spears. So certainly a little bit tough. Now back towards objective number 3, we do see Bretonnia owns that one. Bretonnia does have the objective advantage for now. They got the double cap, and it looks like the high ground objective is going to be taken by Jay. So good instincts here, as this objective is not going to be flipping, but for the first time is going to be going to Bretonnia. But Malekith, I feel, is starting to really get some brutal momentum in this game. And look at this, the dreaded Sisters of Slaughter. Interesting. I mean, in a late game, scrappy situation, I mean, they can definitely grind on points and probably could handle things like Knights of the Realm. As long as there's not like Knights Errant hammering them and Knights of the Realm or maybe tar pitted elsewhere. We'll have to see how these Sisters of Slaughter do. I mean, it is a lot of capture weight, and they are going to be able to flip this one back to the Dark Elves most likely. So Manscore being called in, couple spears on the flanks. Very scrappy game. Looking at the value, 8.5 to 8.5. I would say Dark Elves are ahead. I think they've done more healing than the Bretonians have this game. We have seen a fair amount of Earthbloods coming out of the Faint Enchantress, but for the most part, I do think that the Dark Elves probably have a little bit of an advantage here. And now I'm curious about this, to see how the Sisters do against cavalry charges. Knights of the Realm get a beautiful charge there, and they still do a lot of damage against infantry, even though they are quote-unquote anti-large. But if they decide to stay in sustained combat versus Sisters of Slaughter, probably won't go super well. But I guess a second one coming in, that would probably be enough big, thick Bretonian cavalry armor to overwhelm the Sisters here. And it looks like that's going to be the case, as two fairly good quality cav units move in there, and those Sisters probably wishing that they were Blackguard in that moment. Up on the high ground, it looks like the old Blackheart Corsair is doing great, and like I said, one of their specialties and fortes is cutting through Haggard Peasants. And these old men-at-arms are certainly not going to be immune to that, as they do get broken off here. And this objective probably going to be flipping back to the Dark Elves. And Pone's got to hurry, though. He's got no points on the board, and he's currently triple capped. Those points ticking up very, very quickly. Dark Elves in the back, breath attack coming in from your boy Malekith. And it looks like he did a little bit of friendly fire damage, but the old Sisters of Slaughter hanging on to that point, might be able to flip it, as the Faint Enchantress actually gets gooned by the Manticore. That's a pretty big play. That's honestly a game changer right there. Without the Faint Enchantress's healing, her Mortis Engine, and Malekith running rampant, I think that that's going to give Professor Pone the tools that he needs to probably take control over this and get the objectives back. We'll have to see. We do see a route here, and yeah, Malekith is just going to be a force of nature. But Bretonnia will have the mobile advantage on the ground, it looks like, so they're going to be able to bounce around and maybe press the points, but he could probably call in Cold One Cavalry to try and mitigate some of that bouncing pressure here. Now, will the Faint Enchantress come back? Good play by Jay. The Grail Knights have come in. So the Grail Knights are the heavy hitters. These units are just insanely powerful. They should be able to take care of this Feral Manticore pretty well. What you would want to do in this situation is get the Grail Knights and ride past the Feral Manticore. So you'd want to ride like just up and past it, like right here, and then attack the Feral Manticore. Because right now, only the front row of models are getting in, whereas if you ride past it and then give an attack order, it's going to be a full surround. And it would kill it much quicker. But even still, it's not a bad play. It looks like the Manticore is going to break down. The Grail Knights have done it. But Malekith can certainly handle Grail Knights. If he's got Soul Stealer, and I would imagine he's at least got one in his back pocket, he's most likely going to be able to do it. And we do see the objectives flip here. Sorry, I couldn't help it. But all three of the objectives flip. Battle Pilgrims on the way out. Battle Pilgrims will probably not trade well in the Blackheart Corsairs without support. Granted, these Knights of the Realm maybe could work with the Battle Pilgrims to get a 2v1. We're going to have to see what kind of damage they can get here. Middle objective being held down by Bleak Swords as well as Sisters of Slaughter, but there's a fully erect unit of Grail Knights coming in, and Malekith's certainly going to be playing whack-a-mole with these Knights, as they're going to be Benny Hilling these infantry pretty hard. You can see just punching through them. It's pretty much like they don't exist, and yeah, they just like straight up move through them. Yeah, Grail Knights are just so busted. Oh my god. Like, even just one is like enough to deal with. I feel like that's like, you know, if CA wants to just leave them and not fix them, I guess they're just like a super elite legendary unit, like an ROR, though, right? You could only have one. They're so crazy good. Soul Stealer going down, and that will do some big damage right there. Those Grail Knights going to be taking a bit of a beating. Of course, Malekith is a raid boss, but those Grail Knights will do damage. But the Cold Ones and the Dark Riders coming in to get a bit of a surround might be enough. I don't think they have enough mass to just straight up push through enemy cavalry. With infantry, yes, but you can still see they get tar-pitted, and Malekith here helping. Those attacks from the dragon are pretty devastating for sure. This middle fight's going to be probably the last stand of Bretonnia. They're going to need to win this one. If Bretonnia doesn't win this middle fight, I think they're going to be in big trouble. These Grail Knights just getting melted by vastly superior numbers. We still have 32 Sisters of Slaughter applying poison, Dark Riders, Cold Ones, as well as Malekith. I mean, the amount of value that the forces of evil have right here was just way more than they could handle. Up on the high ground, we got repeater crossbows coming in, as well as basic Dark Riders. Repeater crossbows are excellent against heavy cavalry if they're not being chased. If they have something else in front of them doing most of the screening, the Dark Rider repeater crossbows. I can't tell you how many times in the days of old I've suffered against the Great Felcon's Dark Rider play, as now they're going to be turning and taking some big pot shots into these guys. And yeah, probably will end up winning this fight. We'll have to keep tabs on this one. Dark Riders don't appear to be shooting right now, and in the middle, we do see Malekith still carrying pretty hard. Rabbles of peasants on the way out, spearmen at arms, as well as peasant mobs, and more battle pilgrims, just all sorts of unwashed bodies. The thing is, they don't have the Grail Relief with them, so they're going to be struggling pretty hard to maintain against a character like Malekith, who at a whim could probably just move in and finish off the Fey Enchantress if Professor Bone decides to go for that route. Side objective owned by the Druki. Doesn't look like there's going to be any sort of witchcraft here, and now we do see the battle pilgrims moving in, as the Dark Elves do appear to stabilize the high ground point. I mean, these repeater crossbows can easily finish off these battle pilgrims if they just kind of kite them back and sit. And it looks like the objective still is owned by the Dark Elves. Capture weight, of course, being provided by Dark Riders, and we get some Corsair infantry coming in, and the punch is starting to add up. Battle pilgrims are shielded, so they're not like, you know, completely vulnerable against these missile pieces, but we do see Pone taking advantage of having more value on the battlefield, and now he's going to start getting more favorable engagements as the Witch King of Angmar moving in here. Yes, he's looking pretty sweet, currently sitting at 5,000 value. And I just can't help but feel like Malekith carries so many Dark Elf games. Like, I haven't seen a Dark Elf game lately that hasn't like had Malekith just put the game on his back. Like, it feels as if other things are just not going well, but then the Witch King just comes in and just gets the job done, and yeah, it just causes a ton of havoc, right? So Battle Pilgrim's looking a little bit low. A couple Spearmen at Arms, but they should be hard countered by these Blackheart Corsairs, which are moving in. Middle objective could most likely flip the Bretonnia. We don't see a lot of Dark Elf support coming in here. We're not seeing too many infantry coming out. There they are. There's the Bleak Swords. And the side point appears to have been taken by some Mounted Yeomen, so it looks like they must have chased off some very beat up Dark Elf infantry at some point or other. Now back in the middle, Witch King trying to carry this game, and it looks like he is going to be taking down Henri Le Massif. So the massive one going to be getting mulch. And yeah, there he's going to be routing off, but the objective's still going to be flipping. Not enough infantry here. Currently looking at the points, Professor Pone is in a situation where he would win with the double cap. The Yeomen on the far side, are they going to be able to grab this one? They do have 4 cap weight. They are cavalry. And what you could do is park on the edge of the objective and then charge the infantry before they're able to get close to prevent them from getting there. But I don't know if Jay's going to get that off. It looks like Professor Pone probably going to get there in time as some Dark Riders are called out. And all they need is one model on the point. Then they get it done. And it looks like they actually got blocked. Really nice block there by Jay, but it looks like some of the Dark Riders do ride past, and that's going to be given the capture weight they need to hold on to that objective. And in the middle, the Bretonnian's going to be clashing with the Bleak Swords, and Bleak Swords will trade much better now. Currently, you can see that Murderous Prowess is active, so the entire Dark Elf army is going to be getting the purple steroids. Basically, melee attack, armor piercing, leadership, vigor. It's really, really quite good. So Bleak Swords become like a whole infantry tier higher, essentially. High ground completely controlled by the forces of the Druki. The Fey Enchantress appears to have been hunted down and or unsummoned. Malekith with a fat, erect breath attack right there. Absolutely brutal. As those Battle Pilgrims going to be routed off. The big terror route coming down, and the far side point is stabilized. Blackheart Corsairs arriving. Dark Riders being sacrificed to the Knights of the Realm, which they themselves have gotten about 2,000 value. Just, yeah, 1,600, not bad. Not bad at all, but really, I don't see any way that Jay's going to be able to come back. We'll do a little bit of fast forwarding and tell. You know, obviously, I understand continuing to scrap. You have these crazy good cavalry units, but I just feel as if Malekith is just going to run around and methodically squash things. Golden Knights being called in, very cost-effective trade. They'll be able to drag down the Knights of the Realm. You can see they do that. You got peasant mobs coming out, but that's going to be it. Oh, that's a cool one. Dracula Coven. Look at that. I like the eye. That's a rat icon. Pretty neat to see. Fun tournament game. Cool to see kind of an underdog faction. I know Dark Elves are considered to be like the unholy terrors in land battle. They're like top tier. But in Dom, they're more of like a mid-tier faction. And Bretonnia is hands down like top 3 factions in the game right now. So pretty cool to see the Dark Elves, a bit of an underdog faction coming in there. But, you know, it's the classic case of Malekith with the hard carry, man. 6,400, Jesus. Like, what in the Dark Elf army did well outside of Malekith? I guess the Cold One Cavalry, 2,700, 1,200. Like, so much of the Dark Elf value is poured into, like, just a few units, right? Which is pretty crazy. And yeah, Jay's army was cool, too. I think mixing in a couple foot squires would be helpful just to have some punch. A little bit more punch in the infantry game. And obviously, a lot of it just comes down to the cavalry engagements. It just seems like some of the cav fights didn't go super well outside of maybe these Knights of the Realm here. But yeah, it was a fun one. PG well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. We'll see you back on the other side very soon. Cheers.